Welcome to Why I Left, a podcast that explores the Great Resignation. I'm your host, Brian Akar. Join me as I chronicle real stories from real people about the reasons they decided to leave their jobs during the pandemic and what has happened since. Hello, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of Why I Left. Today's episode promises an insightful exploration into the world of digital marketing, solopreneurship, and personal growth with my guest, TJ Murphy, CEO of Hite Digital in Bend, Oregon. TJ has not only successfully navigated the complexities of the business world, but has also empowered others to thrive. His journey is marked by breaking away from the traditional 9-to-5, community building for local growth, and a commitment to personal wellness as a leader. So whether you're an entrepreneur looking for valuable insights, or even someone contemplating a shift in their career, or you might just simply be curious about the adventures of an optimistic business leader. Either way, you're in for a great treat. Let's go check out his story. All right, welcome back. So our guest today is TJ Murphy. TJ is the founder and CEO of Hite Digital Bend in Oregon, a marketing maestro with a passion for solving complex problems and fostering freedom in the lives of business owners. Now, he also hosts his own podcast called the Adventurous Entrepreneurs podcast, where he shares his positive and approachable style while guiding stakeholders towards more fulfilling lives. Now, as a skier, mountain biker, rock climber, and avid adventurer, he brings a unique blend of experiences to the table. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about uncovering the pitfalls of solopreneurship, learn about the importance of finding your own tribe, and really gathering some digital marketing tips from a true industry expert. So TJ, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, Brian, doing well, man. It's really a pleasure to be here. Excited to dive into this conversation and see where it takes us.
No, absolutely. So, before we get into how your career really pivoted during that pandemic, would love for you to share a little bit about, what have you been passionate about professionally?
Yeah, definitely. So in this season that I'm in right now, my biggest focus is community building. And, especially here in Bend, Oregon, we have a very thriving small business community, a startup culture here, a great outdoor brand scene. So for me, especially over the last year, I've just been getting more and more involved in different nonprofit work, joining some boards, volunteering more, using the skill sets that I have in business and in marketing to really just help create more synergy for other businesses, companies, and organizations here in the area. And that also, translates to just the country at large. I do a lot of virtual networking. I'm a part of a lot of mastermind communities. And, for me, it's just about expanding my reach, being able to give back in meaningful ways, and really surrounding myself with the right people at the end of the day. We'll get into some of the pitfalls of solopreneurship and how lonely it can be. And for me, being able to just connect with like-minded people and learn from them, and also, lend that hand back down, has helped me grow tremendously just in my own personal and professional development, but also within my business's growth and our bottom line. So community building, that's what it's all about right now.
No, that's awesome to hear. And can you share a little bit more about your journey into the world of digital marketing and really what inspired you to start Hite Digital in Bend?
Yeah, so we can go a little ways back here. In college, I studied the University of Oregon, the Lundquist College of Business. I kind of had a desire to start a business someday. Didn't really know what that was going to look like, and they had just recently, within the past year, when I joined into the program, launched an entrepreneurship concentration. So I said, all right, well, that sounds like the perfect place for me. Let me go learn about entrepreneurship. Let me get to have my cohort of fellow students in the business school be people who are like-minded and also thinking that they want to start a business someday. But really the marketing courses that I took, and especially getting to work on some cool marketing projects with really innovative classmates is what drove me and gave me the most excitement and passion during my studies. Now, you don't learn everything that you need to run a business or be a marketing expert from textbooks and university, but I'm glad I had the experience to be able to just learn how to better collaborate, how to become a better communicator, a better speaker, more critical thinker. There was lots of skills that I got out of college, but when I graduated, I knew I needed more experience. I didn't have meaningful internships. I hadn't done a whole lot of real business applicable work that I thought would serve me well. So jumped into the corporate world, moved down to the Bay Area. My wife, girlfriend at the time, was a term ahead of me in college. So she had moved down there, was working for a startup. And my goal was to get a job working at a big marketing consulting firm. I thought that was going to be really awesome, getting to work on advertising campaigns and just really creative stuff for big companies. But quick reality check, with a college degree and no real world experience as a marketing consultant, no one was going to hire me at any of those firms. So I went around, walked the streets of San Francisco, had tons of interviews, didn't get a whole lot of traction. And one day I was digging deep through, I don't know, LinkedIn or Indeed, and found this position for what was a marketing intern at a commercial property management company. And I said, all right, well, I need something. Savings are getting low. I need to get in. It was a paid internship. So I went and interviewed for that, ended up getting the role. And this was an incredible experience because we'll get to here in a moment. It allowed me to develop the skills that really led me to start my agency. I was working at a huge outdoor shopping center. We had over 100 tenants, mostly small mom and pop brick and mortar businesses. And as the marketing intern, eventually became the marketing manager, my role was to be the resource for all of their digital marketing needs. So every day, I'd have these business owners knocking on my door, coming in, talking shop with me about how they could drive more business, more foot traffic to their stores. So crash course in social media marketing, digital advertising, SEO. I was in charge of putting on all our big events at the outdoor shopping center for big holidays, and we put on a summer concert series, and all kinds of great experience into the inner workings of the small business world and the marketing side of things. But that drive to start a business and become an entrepreneur was still there. So my wife and I did some soul searching. We had always wanted to go travel together, and we ended up deciding, hey, we're gonna save up for the next year. We know we want to get out of the city. The Bay Area just wasn't for us. We thrive outdoors with access to all the things we like to do. Like you mentioned, hiking, mountain biking, skiing, rock climbing, paddling. It's a little harder to do. And when you're living in the Bay, it's just, it's so many people. So like, even when you can get out and find cool trails and things to do in nature, it's not the same. You're just surrounded by way too many people. So we did that. We saved up for the next year. We bought one-way tickets to Southeast Asia. We quit our jobs. We sold off most of our belongings and ultimately set off on what turned into a 14-month adventure backpacking through all parts of Asia. And during that time, I was meeting all of these adventurous entrepreneurs, people that were starting and scaling businesses, working from their laptops, living in exotic places, investing in cryptocurrency. I was like, just getting all this exposure to things that I had never been exposed to. Grew up in a small town. My family were not entrepreneurs, very, very blue collar careers throughout my family for the most part. So this was just a whole new world to me. And I started inviting these people, hey, can I buy you a beer? Can I take you out for coffee? I just want to learn what you're doing. Like, it looks like you're living the dream. You've got all this freedom. Clearly you're doing something right. So I did that. And ultimately, through those conversations, through that experience I had learning digital marketing for small businesses, I kind of married the two and decided I was going to create a marketing agency where I could help support the small business community and really empower them with not only just peace of mind, knowing that they could have a team that they can rely on and trust to help grow their business and take care of the marketing stuff, but with that ultimate goal of allowing those business owners to create more freedom in their lives, scale their teams, and ultimately be a better service to their community. So I was back in 2016, and we've been rocking and rolling ever since.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. And what's great about, I hear in your story, and obviously the nature of this show, right? We talk about the transitions that people make. And so you mentioned kind of how you successfully kind of broke away from this traditional 9 to 5 work structure, right? Going to Asia and all of that. So ultimately, why did you leave your job at the time you did?
Yeah. I mean, for us, it was just the right time. I mean, my wife was feeling undervalued, just not on the right path with her corporate career at the time. I was feeling the same way. I mean, this was a great experience. I got tons of just great learning moments and skills working at that first job out of college, but there wasn't a whole lot of upward trajectory there. And meanwhile, we knew that living in the Bay Area long term wasn't for us. So besides, instead of just sticking it out and waiting and kind of what everyone else was telling us to do, hey, you just got to put the time in, work
Right.
your way up the ladder. You just graduated college, you got to keep working, do the corporate thing. We were like, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be here. We don't want to be doing what we're doing right now. And we've always had this dream of traveling together and doing it while we're young, doing it while we don't have kids. We don't have, any responsibility holding us back. So we just decided this is it. We put a big vision board up on our wall in front of our bed. We had all these amazing places we wanted to visit. Our financial goals were up there so that every morning we'd wake up to see that. And that just kept us going. We lived pretty modestly for that year. We didn't go out to eat a lot. We kept saving, putting money away so that we'd have a good chunk of change to live off of while we were traveling. And when you're in Southeast Asia, you can live like a king on,
Yeah.
$40, $50 a day, but we wanted to stretch that out as far as we could go. So, at that time for us, it just made the most sense. We needed to get out there and have an adventure together.
No, that's awesome. And like I'm sure people listening to this are like, how, like, wow, a year full of travel would be amazing, right? And so you left, you leave the 9 to 5, you're going on, like you mentioned, this incredible adventure. What are some of the most valuable lessons you learned during this period? And really, how did it shape your perspective on work and life?
Yeah. I mean, for me, the first most valuable lesson that I learned was just what was possible. Again, I didn't grow up with an entrepreneurial world around me. I didn't really understand what was possible in terms of starting a business and being able to do it remotely and build a team remotely and scale and be able to support people from anywhere in the world. So when I could see and literally talk to people who had created this lifestyle around what they enjoyed most, being around the people that they care about most, traveling and doing the things that light them up, that was just the aha moment. Like, okay, if that guy can do what he's doing, I can certainly create something to, be able to create this freedom that I'm so desiring for right now in my life. And, through that experience of just sitting down and talking to people and learning about what kind of businesses they were running and were able to, outsource some of their work using VAs, using, different white label providers, just understanding that there's a whole lot of solutions out there to make work easier and more less tied down to just having to be in one place working with people in one geographic area.
Yeah.
And to me, that was just when things clicked. I said, all right, I know what I'm going to do. And from there, the most valuable lessons were just the school of hard knocks. All right, now I need to actually figure out how to build this thing. How am I going to attract my first clients? Who in my network can I talk to start having the right conversations? And I was very fortunate to be able to tap into the business community that I had grown down working at the big outdoor shopping center. A lot of those businesses were very excited when they heard I was going on this trip. And when I reached out to a few of them that I know needed more help with their marketing, they were like, we would love to hire you. We would love to outsource this stuff to you. We trust you. We know you're going to do an awesome job. So I was able to pick up a few clients while we were still overseas, which just gave me even more valuable lessons. And all right, now I have clients. I
Yeah.
need to figure out how to be able to fulfill on some of these, expectations that they have of me. So doing that while we were, living in exotic places, not always the best Wi-Fi, taught me how to have better time management, how to really, make the most out of the time I did have to be able to provide an amazing service for these clients.
No, that's awesome to hear. It must have felt really validating to know that you were able to start hooking clients while you were on on this, I'll call this adventure, this sabbatical, if you will. So
Yeah.
it almost felt like real, so something to come back to, I'm sure felt really good. I'd love to talk a little bit about Hite Digital now. And so what's great, and I probably should have mentioned this in the beginning, but I actually interviewed someone from Hite Digital St. Louis, right, in season 2, and so I'm familiar with the company. Love what you all do and the different franchisees that are set up. And so one of the things I noticed is that it's really focused on empowering people to thrive, obviously in both business and in life. So how do you believe a strong digital marketing strategy contributes to the overall business success and personal fulfillment for some of these small businesses?
Yeah. And I'm gonna really lean into the personal fulfillment side of things. For most small business owners, we work with a lot of local service-based businesses. So your local plumbing company, your local roofer, your electrician, your design build remodeling company, your lawyer, your CPA. All of these types of business owners didn't get into business to be a marketing expert. And the one thing that I hear on a weekly basis is just how overwhelming it can be in this world that we live in today, where when it comes to digital marketing, there are so many shiny objects. There's so many changes happening all the time that it's nearly impossible for someone to be an expert at whatever field that they're in, whatever service that they're trying to provide to their community, and also stay on top of all of the marketing trends and figure out what works. So as you mentioned, for us, it's all about coming in and empowering them by saying, hey, you need to do what you do best. When you can focus on delivering an amazing service to your community, to providing an amazing workplace and culture for your team, that's when you're going to be able to truly grow and create more freedom for everybody in your culture. And that's also going to trickle down and help your community in tremendous ways. So if we can come in and really be that guide to say, all right, here's where you are now, here's where you want to go. These are the strategies that make the most sense to be able to get you there with where your business is at in terms of revenue, in terms of capacity, team structure. We look at everything very holistically. And
Mm-hmm.
so for us, strong digital marketing strategy, of course, contributes to your bottom line. If you've got a system that's consistent and reliable and can bring in your ideal customers on a daily, on a weekly basis, and you're not guessing, you're not wondering where your next customer is going to come from, and you can see that consistent trend of growth, well, now you have a better foundation to really plan and to be able to build for long-term success, to hire the right people, to retain the best people. And, like we talked to a lot of companies that struggle, they go through ups and downs. And in those downtimes, sometimes they have to let people go, people that have really helped and are a tremendous asset to their team. And it's not a fun position to be in when you can't afford to have that person on your team anymore. And now they got to go look for another job. Maybe they're going to be working for your competitor, and that's what they got to do. That's the best thing for them. But for your company, that can really set you back. So if we can create a system from the marketing side that allows for stable growth and projecting into the future, it creates that peace of mind, relieves the overwhelm, and ultimately allows for more freedom for that business owner to focus on what they want to do and what they do best.
Oh, that's awesome. And that focus that you all have on community building is really something that I loved reading about in a lot of the work you do. So obviously you focus on the business itself and them growing to make sure that they are being supportive to their respective communities. But how do you approach building a supportive community around your business? And
Mm.
how does that work out? And what types of lessons could other small businesses in particular take from some of the things that you try to implement in your work?
Yeah, I love that question. Coming back to the community building aspect, for me, we have clients all over the country, but my focus, especially this year, is here locally. Now, my wife and I love it in Bend, where we live. It's just a beautiful, abundant place, amazing people here, an amazing business community. So for me, wanting to really put roots down, my focus is on how can I be the steward? How can I be a great leader? How can I help support the people within this community in impactful ways? And I know if I'm able to build that circle, to build that community around myself, that translates to my business as well. People want to work with people that they like and that are doing good in their community. So for me, I join a lot of nonprofits, whether that's sitting on a committee, volunteering, or sitting on a board. I'm involved in, just a lot of business networking communities through the Chamber of Commerce here, through different, kind of one-off groups and organizations that meet on a semi-regular basis. And I put on our own events. We're always trying to bring in different people from the business community to talk about what's happening locally, talking about issues, talking about opportunities, but really just to try to bring people together to have that sense of community within their business. Going back to the solopreneurship, even within a small team, it can be hard to really thrive unless you have supportive people around you that are cheering you on, that can share resources, that can help you when you're struggling through things in your business. So being able to connect those dots for people and help out using the skills that I've been able to develop is really my big focus in terms of building that supportive community around myself and my business.
No, that's awesome to hear. And you know what? I see a lot of parallels in that, especially with the podcasting community, right? I've only been at this for like, a little over a year. And once you start meeting other podcasters, we're all just trying to figure it out. Like we're all,
Yeah.
like none of us are Rogan, right? So we're not
Yeah.
up there, but we're all just trying to figure this stuff out. And it is so like, the collaboration has been amazing. So I love that you mentioned that as well for the things that you do. Now, one thing, and you've shouted her out a few times, right? And I saw that you married your high school sweetheart, right? And so shout out to your wife. How do you nurture this kind of healthy balance between entrepreneurship and marriage, especially when one partner, so your wife, she kind of follows a 9 to 5 work structure, and you're a bit more on the entrepreneurship side. How do you kind of strive for that healthy balance?
Yeah, it's it's been a journey for sure. So when we came back from our adventure in Asia, we actually moved back in with my parents for a couple months. They had a little in-law unit attached to their house. So while we were figuring out where we were going to move next, while Allie looked for her next career move, we were in a very tiny studio apartment, and I was working on my business. So like I'm sitting there at the kitchen table from 8 to 6 7 p.m. or going out to meet people in the community, but coming back and just trying to build this thing, trying to grow the momentum behind it. Pretty stressful days when I look back at it. And she was also very, very stressed at the time, coming back from 14 months of not working, of living this lifestyle of every day is something new, something exciting, something just completely foreign to what you're used to in your normal life at home and full of adventure. To then go back to a little small town in Ashland, Oregon, we both experienced a level of reverse culture shock, and it was hard to get back into the normal routine. And not everybody can relate to what you just experienced when you come back from a trip like that. So it took a while, and she, she's very open about it, but she struggled with some depression at the time, and it was very hard. This is still pre-COVID, but just the job market was a struggle. It took a while for her to find that next opportunity, and that kind of fueled her just imposter syndrome and getting down on herself. And I'm just naturally an optimist and super positive guy, and I'm trying to build this thing. So I'm always encouraging her. But in that moment, it was just really hard. We were around each other every day. We're both kind of in that same small space. And eventually we did move out and got a bigger place, but we're still both working from home at that time. So we had to learn how to really create separation and do it quickly to be able to save our marriage and just live happy, healthy lives. So we've got some pretty standard rules of operation on how we both live, coexist during the workday. We keep our doors shut. We, knock on the door if if we have a problem or something, we need to bounce ideas off each other, but we're very collaborative. She's got an amazing career. She's the managing director for a company that she loves, and she loves bringing, certain ideas and problems to me to help brainstorm. And for me, she's my best strategic advisor. Any issues that I'm experiencing in my business, she's the first person I go to for that support. So we've learned to just do it in a way that's respectful of each other's time and what we're doing. When you're in the grind mode, you're focused on a task. When someone's knocking on your door, it can be very distracting. And that's just been something we've had to navigate and create some rules around. But besides that, it's just important to be able to turn work off at the end of the day. We like to check in with each other, make sure we know what happened, and can celebrate wins together, can work through problems together that happened in the workday. But we get to a point where it's like, all right, 5:30 rolls around, we're gonna have dinner, might go jump in the hot tub, and just completely unplug from work. And if we catch ourselves talking, it's like, hey, let's save that for tomorrow.
Right.
Let's just focus on being present with each other and let that work stuff wait, because you got to be able to disconnect from it, especially
No.
as a business owner. There's always something to be thinking about, always something you can be doing. But for me, I'm at my best when I have just completely detached time where I'm not thinking about work at all, and not worrying about what comes next the next day.
No, that's awesome. And you mentioned it here, about being very optimistic, and I kind of love that approach as well. Can you share some insights on how maintaining like that kind of positive mindset has helped contribute to your success, either both professionally and
Mhm.
personally?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's as a marketing agency owner, you're always going to have ups and downs. Clients come and go, regardless of how well you do for a business. Sometimes they're going to have internal struggles that lead them to close their doors or need to cut their budget. Sometimes in marketing, things don't work out as expected, and the results that you deliver might not have been what you promised or what you hyped it up to be. So when you lose clients, it's never a good feeling. But for me, I'm very grounded in my optimism and positivity. And I know that no matter what, if I can have a client and they're going to leave, no matter what, I want to make sure that we're providing that value and making sure that through that transition of them leaving, we're doing everything we can to help them take that next step forward, whatever that's going to be. So for me, I know if as long as I'm doing my best, I'm providing as much value as I can, I know I'm going to have business opportunities coming down the line. So there's nothing that I can do to change those situations in some cases. And so I'm not going to dwell on them. And if I'm just going to beat myself up about a client leaving or a campaign not working the way it's supposed to, or, a teammate underperforming, that's not going to help the situation. If I can instead flip that script in a positive way and look for how I can actually move forward and solve the problem and do it with a smile on my face, I'm just happier. I've got more energy to put towards the task at hand. The people around me feel that energy, they see that energy, and they want to follow suit. We're not all going to stay down here. We're going to keep going up because everything lies ahead of us. And if we can keep putting one step forward, that's the path to success. That's the path to victory. So for me, it's just a reminder. When I am down, I always tell myself, just smile for 5 seconds. If you can smile for 5 seconds, you're immediately going to feel better. And then I can really focus on, all right, here's what I need to do.
I
Well, we're
like
going to move on from this. Let's get going.
No, I like that. I like that. I've noticed also a lot in your content, and we've, kind of teased it up a little bit here too, talking about the pitfalls of solopreneurship. Often on my show, I've interviewed a lot of folks who have started going into their own businesses, and I love the realness that they bring to that, because it's not always, lollipops and rainbows as sometimes social
No,
media
definitely not.
would like to see. But could you elaborate on the importance of, finding your tribe or this supportive community, and how it can impact the journey of a solopreneur?
Absolutely. So going back to the being at my parents' house in that in-law unit, sitting at that kitchen table by myself most days. These were lonely days. These were hard days. And this is probably not the case for everyone, but for me, I had this ego thing where I felt like, all right, I got to figure this out on my own. I got to make this work. No one's going to do it for me. No one's going to help me. I got to make sure I'm putting in the work. I'm putting in the hours. But man, was I wrong. Man, was I
Mm,
wrong. The reality is, the more you ask for help, the faster you're going to succeed. The more people you can surround yourself with that have either done it before and succeeded or are working towards that same common goal, the easier it's going to be for you to see what works, to get the resources you need, to bounce ideas around. So things really started to click for my personal and professional growth and for my business's growth once I had a community around me. So that's going to look different for everybody. If you're in a community where there's a strong business culture, getting into different meetup groups, going to the happy hours, joining the Chamber of Commerce, finding people that are like-minded and are just looking to serve the business community and get more connected with people in it. That's just going to help you to make leaps and bounds in your early days, especially. But beyond that, the most important thing for me was finding mentorship and finding coaching and a community around that. So once I got to a point where I was able to check my ego and had the funds to be able to invest in my own development, that's when things really, really took off, because I joined a community of marketing agency owners and had an amazing mentor, people that were multiples ahead of me in terms of revenue and their journey, and people that were also further behind me. And I kind of alluded to it earlier. For me, I love and I thrive when I get to be inspired and learn from people who are just so successful and farther along than I am, but also take what I've learned and be able to help and mentor people that are just getting started or just a few steps further behind in their path than where I'm at in that moment. And having the two, where you can really learn but also teach, allows me to thrive and just focus on my own growth and development. So entrepreneurship can be a lonely road, especially when you're a solopreneur early on and haven't built a team around you. So whether you're finding online communities, there's so many great communities out there that meet virtually. And if that's what you have to do to tap in and find those connections, I'm all for it. If you've got a great access to a local community of business owners, of entrepreneurs, go check things out. Not every group's going to be the right fit for you, but it's about showing up. It's not comfortable at first for most people, but it's a muscle that as you flex and as you work out more, it just becomes natural. And you're going to find that having that community around you will just allow you to succeed far faster than you would on your own.
No, that's awesome. And speaking of developing and kind of cultivating that tribe, you're a part of the podcast tribe. And so,
Yeah.
so you host the Adventurous Entrepreneurs podcast. And so curious, what inspired you to start the show, and what are some key themes that you aim to share with your audience throughout the podcast?
Yeah. So for me, the podcast was an interesting project to start up. I did not start the podcast to like grow this massive listenership and following. Really, I saw it as an opportunity to hone very specific skills. Communication, interviewing translates directly to sales. So I just wanted to be better at talking to people and being able to engage and connect with them in a meaningful way and ask insightful questions and dig deep into some of the things that really help them along in their journey. And if I'm learning along the way, if I'm honing those skills, then no matter what happens, even if nobody listens to the dang thing, I know it's worthwhile. It was time well invested. And if it helps just one other person along the way, wow, okay, cool, even better. Luckily, we have been able to grow a following and things are going well. It's a great personal branding tool. It's great content. If you're in business, I mean, there's very few businesses out there today where you're going to be able to stand out without building a brand around yourself. So having a podcast, having a platform where no matter what your theme is, you can really talk to people and dig in and tease out some insightful lessons, and then use that on social media, use that in all your communications. It's an amazing tool. It allows you to take one piece of content and turn it into many. So with all of those goals in mind, with all those other value adds besides, hey, I can grow this to a point where I'll get some sponsorship revenue or be able to monetize that thing. That was never the goal. I just wanted to be able to learn from some inspiring people, some adventurous entrepreneurs, and share that wisdom along with others who are trying to take that next step in their entrepreneurial journey.
No, that's awesome. I'll make sure we put that info in the show notes too, so people can definitely check that out. One section of the show, or this section of the show, I should say, that really gets a lot of good traction is around advice. A lot of folks who listen to my show, they may either be thinking about kind of what's next, or thinking about what different areas or different industries to get involved in. And I think specifically with you around this digital marketing piece, you said something earlier about, like that lawyer or that accountant, they're really focused on what it is that they do. They're not the marketing expert, nor do they have much time to really keep up on those trends. So with your experience in this space, what are three key tips that you would share with small business owners to ensure that they have a strong return on their investment in their marketing efforts?
Yeah, I love this question. So, we alluded to it. Content is queen, and you need good content to be able to stand out in today's crowded marketplace. How can you differentiate yourself from every other attorney, every other plumbing company, every other e-commerce brand, whatever it is that you do? It's through storytelling. And for me, what we find to be the most effective and just the easiest path of least resistance to being able to develop great content is tapping your customers and really storytelling through genuine customer experiences. So I always consult with the businesses that we work with and find an opportunity and create a system around how they can encourage their customers to actually share these stories and experiences about their experience working with that business, about that product, about that service, whatever it might be. This personal touch not only enhances the brand's authenticity, it's more relatable, but it
Right.
also creates a deeper emotional connection with that customer, increasing the lifetime value, the chance that they're going to refer you out and talk about you, become a brand advocate, but also with your future potential customers. The more we can humanize the experience behind whatever it is that you offer and show people exactly what that experience is going to look like, the more likely they are to convert and become a customer of yours. And there's no better way to do that than doing it firsthand through the experiences that your customers are having. So
Yeah.
that can take many shapes and forms, whether it's, video, whether you're doing something more professional and kind of creating a case study around a certain project that you did, or, a certain customer experience, just getting reviews and written testimonials, creating a way for people to tag you and actually share if it's something more fun and experiential. Maybe not, a CPA or an attorney. That's not going to work as well. But if
Right.
you have like a tour company, or you own a restaurant or whatever it might be, you got to make it easy and you got to ask your customers to do this stuff. And if you add a little incentive in there, then yeah, sure, they're more likely to do it. But you got to create this user generated content and get people to start sharing how amazing it was working with you. So that's tip
Yeah.
number one. Second would be tapping into the business community around you. We've talked about community a lot, and it's so important to look for niche collaboration and cross promotion opportunities. So, partnering with a non-competing business or influencers in your city, in your niche, whatever it might be, this can lead to new audiences, shared audiences, and innovative opportunities for cross promotion, leveraging each other's strengths to create a broader impact. So, like an example might be if we work with a lot of remodeling companies, and great partners for them are finding the go-to interior designers or home decor stores in their market. And there's just synergy there. Those people are already talking to their ideal customers and vice
Mhm.
versa. So you can refer each other. You can actually cross promote and advertise together and sometimes split marketing costs that way, package up services together and create bundled offerings, and just go from, hey, instead of having siloed communities and reach, we all can benefit. If somebody's going to have a service with us, they're also going to need these other things. So just making sure that you find those relationship opportunities, you nurture them and put them into place, you're going to see a lot more synergy and growth that way.
That's smart.
And number three is all about data. You can't track what, or you can't know what you don't track at the end of the day. And so many companies don't have good data about really anything happening within their business, from the marketing side to lifetime value of a customer engagement, reputation. There's no systems in place. So part of what we do, we always audit a company. We come in, we understand what data exists, where the gaps are, and we need to fill those gaps before we ever start running any new marketing campaigns. And once we have good data, well, now we can really start to tell the story around what's happening in the business. We can start to put accurate ROI numbers on every single marketing channel, every strategy that they're employing. And not only that, we can start to personalize. When we collect data about our customers, we can start to serve them more content. We can market to them in a more effective way that's personal to them, what their unique needs are, what their unique challenges are. As a salesperson, if you've got information, you've got a customer profile on every single person that works with your company, well, now you're able to really nurture those relationships along. If you know their kids' names, you know that their son's on the local little league team, you can check in on those things and start to create a connection with these customers that, again, is going to lead to more lifetime value. It's going to make them want to refer you out, talk about you when they come across people who need what you offer. And just everybody wins in those scenarios. The customer feels heard, they feel appreciated, and thus your bottom line is going to grow in the process. So those are my three main tips.
I love that. I love that. And as you think about the future of the work that you're doing, what type of impact are you hoping to have in this next chapter, or this continuing chapter, I should say, of your professional life?
It's all about community. So I want people to look at me and say, "Hey, TJ is just a community builder. He's out there making these connections for people. He's doing good in the community. He's helping raise all ships in the process because he cares. He wants his community to be a better place." And that's the legacy that I want to leave behind, is one of connecting and being of service to others here in the place that I live and love to live in.
No, that's awesome. And you know what I love about season 3, I've been adding in this last question to kind of spice it up a little bit for the
Hey,
content,
let's
right?
get spicy. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So what's one question that you have for me that I could answer?
All right, Brian. My question to you is, how do you intentionally create more adventure in your life?
Oh, that's a great question. So, by the time this airs, I'll probably be deep into it. But at the time we're recording, so in a couple months, I'm turning 40, right? And so what I said to myself, I like to run. I've done a few marathons, and so what I said for my 40th birthday, I am going to run 40 races to celebrate my 40th year of life, to celebrate movement, the things that I get to do. Like, movement is a privilege, right? And so when I think about that, I love that question, by the way.
Awesome.
I'm intentionally saying to myself, I want to get out there and celebrate in a different type of way. And so now, granted, these 40, it's becoming a little pricey, but I said I was going to do it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Now you're putting it out there to the
Yeah,
whole world. So you're
exactly,
accountable.
exactly. And so that's what I'm trying to do, right? And just continue to move that adventure, this running adventure forward. And as of right now, I have about 20 races. It is all running races, but one of my buddies sent me something the other day where, maybe there's an option where, maybe we do a bike race, or maybe we do a boat race. And those are things that, truthfully, I've never done. But maybe this is a good time to, all right, well, I had to sell my bike when I moved here a few years ago. Maybe it's time to get another bike. And so it's little stuff like that I'm doing to intentionally add adventure. My ultimate goal from a marathon standpoint is to become, like, they have this thing called Abbott World Major Marathon. You become a world marathoner, and you need 6 world marathons, major marathons, I'm sorry, to complete it. And I have 3 of the 6 so far. And so
Halfway there.
I'm halfway there, and so it's like, I just got to keep it going. So that's what I'm doing to intentionally create adventure in my life. I love that question. I love
Well, I
that.
love that answer, Brian. That's incredible. I'm excited to check in with you over the course of the year and follow along on that journey and see all those races come to life. That's incredible, and that's a hard thing to accomplish. So
Yes.
kudos to
Yeah.
you for putting a big audacious goal out there.
No, I appreciate that. And look, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I'm really glad that we connected, and would love for you to share where our listeners can find you and support the work that you're doing.
Yeah. So easiest place, I've got a personal website, kind of a link tree. It's tjmurphy.me that has access to all my social media, to the Hite Digital site, to my podcast, to some other fun projects I'm working on. So that's a great gateway into everything TJ. But you can also just reach out to me once you find me on social media. Shoot me a DM. Always love to connect with people. Would love to chop it up, chat, help you in any way I can. So please reach out if you've taken anything from this conversation and want to continue it.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. And look, that'll do it for today's episode. Again, I want to thank TJ Murphy for joining me today. His information will be all in our show notes. And I hope you all have a great week, and we'll definitely see you next time. TJ, thanks again. Thanks again for listening to Why I Left. Be sure to join us next time for more stories from the Great Resignation. Visit us at www.whyileft.co. That's whyileft.co. And subscribe to the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.